1 year ago, Hurricane Helene swept through Asheville, North Carolina. The French Broad River rose higher than anyone could remember, flooding homes, businesses, and entire communities. Nowhere was the devastation more visible than in the River Arts District, where artists lost not just their studios, but their life's work. 1 year later, many remain displaced, but some, like the Village Potters, are finding a way back. When you drive through the River Arts District today, what do you see? What do you feel?
So I mostly don't drive through the River Arts District because just talking about it makes me cry. And it's very hard for me to drive down there. But down where the loss is, it's very hard to go by there. So I mostly, when I go through town, and it would be logical to go that way, I choose a different way. Still.
Hello, I'm Tim Barnwell, and welcome to the Face of Appalachia, where we share stories of the mountains, its people, and their traditions. To continue, we need your help. It's as simple as subscribing, liking this video, and turning on notifications. You can also support us through Super Thanks here on YouTube or on our GoFundMe page. For more than 40 years, I've photographed and documented Appalachian life. But I've never seen Asheville tested the way it was by Hurricane Helene on September 27, 2024. The River Arts District, long a haven for artists working in old warehouses along the French Broad River, was hit especially hard. Nearly 80% of its studios and galleries were destroyed or severely damaged, displacing more than 300 artists. This is personal for me, as my own photography studio is in the River Arts District. While our building was spared the worst of the flooding, many of my friends and neighbors lost everything. Yet even in that loss, stories of resilience emerged. One of them is the Village Potters, who are now preparing to reopen 1 year after the storm.
We began in 2011 and we had 5,000 square feet, and there were 5 of us at our location in the River Arts District where we had studios and we taught. We expanded over the 14 years to have 14,000 square feet. So we grew into something pretty magnificent and wonderful and had this beautiful spirit of community connection. We were in a building with hundreds of other artists. So when we heard that the hurricane was coming, we were pretty concerned about it. They were saying there would be 19 feet. I was pretty confident that we were in trouble, but the week of the hurricane, we already had a booked workshop. So we went forward with our workshop even though we knew that the water was coming. And we actually unloaded the kiln at 8 a.m. the day the waters rose, and we had to evacuate at 10 a.m. So we were a thriving operation, thriving right up to the point of you need to get out. We took things upstairs, which is 18 feet up into the second story to protect it, but there was 3 and 4 feet of water upstairs, so we lost everything.
So how soon after the flood were you able to get back in and kind of assess what had happened?
I think I was able to get out of my house within a week. And we went over to the bank across the river up real high and looked, and the parking lot was still full of water, and we could see the flood line on the building. And we knew from standing over there that we had lost everything.
Where was the flood line on the building?
It was, if you went to what our front door was, above the awning, above the windows to what was the second floor, it became very clear that there was 3 to 4 feet of water above what was the ceiling of our facility. Wow. I can only describe it as being similar to when you've lost a loved one, which I've lost quite a few, that you're kind of numb. And I think it was a grief. I kept thinking very positive things in the beginning, like big picture, positive things that we were going to do and how we were going to come back. But slowly, I think reality started to come in, how daunting the whole thing was. But there was really, in the beginning, I think we all just were operating in some kind of paralysis, but working at the same time.
I know you lost everything, but what all did that entail as far as your business and personal stuff?
Yeah, so we lost 16 kilns. Pretty much everything that you would need to be a fully equipped, large ceramic art center was gone. And I would say, after having done inventories for my accountant, it is about $500,000 worth of equipment. So my husband, George, who is what I'd call a Renaissance man, he understands electrical things, plumbing, mechanical things. He and several of my studio mates decided to get these 26-foot trucks and take the equipment, and they drove everything that they could get out of the space into the truck, probably 11 truckloads of equipment, 26-foot trucks, to an apple barn in Haywood County, and began to refurbish. So we ended up having a small but very accomplished group of people that restored 37 wheels for us, and then other people in the community found out that it was going on and asked if they could come over, and George would say sure, and he'd show them how to repair their equipment. So there are many potters that lost their equipment that also restored it with George's guidance and Karen Dubois' guidance and Julia Mann's guidance. It was quite a community event.
So what does it feel like to have all those years of work and creativity and kind of everything just washed away?
It's so strange when something really huge happens in your life and something's very traumatic. It's hard to put it into words. So some days I have this overwhelming gratitude that people are helping us, that there's all these people that care, that are supporting us financially. And then I have other days where I'm in a pretty deep despair because of what's lost. So I would say mostly it's an emotional roller coaster. And a lot of the times I thought coming back wouldn't be possible because we're trying to bring back what is in 1 year took 14 years to build. But we're doing it.
You ever have a moment where you thought about just giving it up and retiring and calling it a day?
I've had a lot of moments where I've thought, why are we doing this? My husband and I are both retired age. We could reinvent this third season of life. But what kept coming back to both of us is that from the very beginning when we started the Village Potters, it was about so many more people than just us. I think we made the right decision, and I think as soon as people all over the United States started supporting us and people gave us kilns, it became very clear to me that we were on the path we were supposed to be on. Because George and I could not bring it back. We knew that. We had no money, we had, everything was flooded, but we have had exponentially miraculous support. I don't have any other way to say it. That we realized what washed away was ours, but what's coming back is owned by hundreds and thousands of people.
So how'd you go about finding a new location, and what were kind of the challenges involved in that?
So I didn't know at the point that we had decided to come back that finding a facility was going to be such a great challenge, but it was. I had the most wonderful real estate agent, Jessie Leonetti, and she just combed the territory for me. But basically in Asheville, everything is extremely expensive. So you couldn't get anything at the costs that you got being in the floodplain, but also there's no places with parking. So actually this place that we're in now, which is our new location, was the only place I negotiated because it was the only space that we could find with parking. So it was a huge challenge. For many times during the search, I thought, well, we had a plan to come back, but we don't have anywhere to come back to. We knew that the River Arts District was not an option for us.
So where did you find to locate?
So now we're at Westgate, that's where we're sitting now, which is an old 50s shopping center, and we're actually in a box store that Tuesday Morning was in. We're so blessed that we have it, and it's bigger than what we had by 4,000 square feet. So we're actually able to provide studio space for other displaced ceramic artists. A lot of people don't know this, but glass blowers, ceramic artists, and woodworkers require a lot of equipment. So when you decide to set up somewhere, it's a big deal. So we're kind of excited now because our community will be here. And one of the things that my studio mate Judy Harwood says, just remember, we're people, we're not a building. And that encourages me because we will make this space into something warm and creative and loving and accepting. And we know that's going to happen because that's who we are. I think that it's fair to say that Asheville, though it is strong, and Asheville strong is one of our sayings here since the flood, but that Asheville will always be changed. I think we're going to grow back into and become even more than what we've been in the past. But this is a marker for this whole Western North Carolina. This flood, there'll be before the flood and after the flood, and I think that will always be the case.
People that are thinking about coming to Asheville that think it's just still somehow nothing but devastation or whatever when they hear a few reports here or there, what would you say to them if they're thinking about making a trip here?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because I hope people will come. Because unless you decide I am going to go find the devastation, you're probably not going to see it because the devastation was along all the rivers. It's not like the whole city was wiped out. It's not like everybody's homes were gone. The real trauma devastation was on the rivers. And so unless you decided I'm going to go look, you can come to Asheville and go hiking and go up on the parkway and go to the Arboretum and do all the things, go to Biltmore Estate that you would normally do in Asheville. The restaurants are open, the hotels are open. We're back to normal.
So you're going to reopen soon. And what does this moment kind of mean to you after such a difficult year? It's almost exactly a year now.
Yeah. You know, it's a good thing that you can't foresee things because I think when George and I decided to come back, if we'd known it was going to take a whole year, we might have thought differently about it. But we thought we would be back in 6 months. And we even had open dates set for June. But like all things that have to do with construction and building, we've run into tons of obstacles. So it taking a whole year has been basically one of the longest years of my life, to be honest with you, because we've tried not to work 7 days a week, but we've failed at it miserably. And we are opening. I think it's about 4 weeks from now, and everything that is being moved back in from the apple barn actually begins tomorrow. So, you know, we've been looking at this empty space ever since February and working with the owners of this space to get it right for us to move in. And that's been daunting, but it's happening. And so it's very exciting.
What do you hope that your students and fellow artists and just really the wider community take away from your story of loss and recovery?
Well, I think I'll quote my friend Sharon Taylor. We're always stronger than we think we are. And I think that I've learned that my community of studio mates, the Village Potters, we've all learned that. And I would like for people to take away when something seems insurmountable, that if you don't look at the mountain, it's kind of like when you're hiking to a peak. You don't stare at the peak, you stare at where you are in that moment. And I think that's how we've gotten through this year, is that we didn't stare at the big overwhelmingness of it and just did what needed to be done right in front of us in that day. And now it's a year later and we're looking up and it's happening.